I was born in Kimberley, South Africa, and my name is, our family name was Kokkinn, K-O-K-K-I-N-N, and all we knew was that our grandfather, whom we never met, came from Australia, and that his father had come from Norway with the name of Kokkin. And in fact, we never suspected that they weren't Norwegian either. And so all my life I had this odd name, which wasn't a South African name, and then when I came to Australia, it wasn't an Australian name. All our lives we've had this very difficult name, because every time you buy something or you sign something or you give your name, you've got to go through the laborious process of the K-O-K-K-I-N-N, and then you always get the query, you know. My father told me that at one stage somebody at work, when he gave him his name, said, "Is that a name? Really?" So it was a very odd thing, and only in latter years have we managed to track it down. And I went on a trip to Norway, and we deliberately went in search of the name Kokkin. Okay, so we've just picked up the hire car at Avis at Oslo Airport. It's a brand new Subaru. Don't ask me what model it is, but we've just spent probably nearly an hour trying to work out which buttons to press. It's got no handbrake, it's got automatic handbrake. The sat-nav was in Norwegian, but then the young fellow came and changed it to English for us, and now we've just set off, and it's the route to Grui. We don't know what we're going to do when we get to Grui, because we actually don't know the address. This is a road in Våler, which is where the family of Kokkinns gunsmiths lived for many years. They were gunsmiths and knife makers. There's the little cottage we spent the night in, night of my birthday. And then you can see that this property is on the top of a hill set in fields. Now I've just walked across there and seen that that's actually barley there, not wheat. But there's wheat on the other side of the house. And the lady told us that they had about 3 foot of snow here last year. That's their little greenhouse. And this is the main house here behind me, with its little dormer windows and stuff. I love this wooden board that these Norwegian houses are made of. Here we are, it's Friday the 17th of August, and we are near Våler in southern Norway, and this is the Kokkinn crossing. Apparently, long before there was this old bitumen, a family of Kokkinns lived in this big white house, and so quite proud to have a crossing with my name on it, and this is what the countryside looks like around Kokkin crossing. So here's the big old white house at Kokkinns crossing that the Kokkinns apparently lived at. We are in the Finnskog, in the Finns forest, and this is a village. This is actually leftover original buildings from the Finns, the Norwegian Finns, from our ancestors, and this is a fence. Apparently this is a leftover original fence, and this is you can see how these are tied on with flexible saplings. The saplings are tied on and then they dry and hold the fence in place. It's quite amazing. And we're going to have somebody come and show us around. Bev. And this is one of the original Finns cottages. You can see from the age of those beams that have been there for quite some time. I would like to guess how long. They're quite weathered. And we're in this village, which is they're reconstructing some of it and preserving it. Kinds of chimneys on the right. That's the smoke channel, and that's actually just a chimney over a fire for cooking. So on the right, this is one of the important things about these buildings, is that the smoking things. They smoke food, they smoke themselves, and what's the third kind? Oh, they dry things, and that's the chimney for the sort of drying, hot, dry, smoky air. Okay, we're coming into the smoke room, or roken. And remember we looked up at the roof and we said there was no chimney. Here's the fireplace, but the idea was this is a sort of an old-fashioned heater. The fire would be made in there and you could cook and stuff in there, but there's no chimney up the back there. The smoke comes out the front and it goes up to the roof, and then the entire layer above here is smoke, and then slowly the hot air takes the smoke out of this hole and it goes up through there to where the wooden chimney that you saw. So it was a way of heating the room as well as being able to cook, but there were also apparently cook houses outdoors. And then some of the early forms, there was no glass hadn't been invented yet, and so they had this kind of resinous wood. If you can see this here, I'll just try and see if you can get here, this frame here, and you put a bit of resinous wood onto the end of the frame here, touching the end of it, and you lit it, so you had like a little lamp. And this enables you to adjust the height of your flame if you're doing needlework or something like that. And then this is obviously a loom, handmade, you know, Norwegian wood, and all sorts of artifacts here. It's amazing, and I sort of like this room because I can just imagine myself sitting there. I don't know what I would be doing, staying out of the snow. So this is a kind of a reconstruction village. They bring original buildings from the forests and reassemble them on this site. So it's called the Finnskog garden, you know, to try and recreate various buildings and things on the edge of this little stream here. I'm standing with my back to the original smokehouse, and I've shown you the inside of that. But we've just been over the back with the original sauna as well, which is an amazing sauna. So we just had a very stimulating and interesting talk about how the Finns arrived here and what happened to them. It's inside a Norwegian forest. There's a little creek coming down and a fallen tree. And some of these, for example, this one here is a birch, quite a big birch tree here. And then a variety of different kinds of fir trees, such as this thing close by here. turns out, way back in the 1500s, Finland and Sweden were the same country. They were ruled by the same king. And there were these forest Finns that practiced slash and burn agriculture. And forests were not much valued in those days. And the king said, well, look, why don't you move down here? They were running, the forests were running out and their children needed more. So the Finns, the forest Finns, a special group of slash and burn agriculture Finns, moved down into Sweden, into the forests. And time passed, the king died, and the Swedish people on the border here were not very happy with the forest Finns because of their agriculture and their way of life, and they had begun to value the forests, and so they made them very unwelcome, and they moved over into this little region of Norway, in the current province of Grui. And the Kokkinns were forest Finns. And today you can find the name spelled in several different ways, and it's probably a result of the forced integration of the Finns into Swedish and Norwegian society. For example, their children were not allowed to speak their Finnish language in the schools, and the parents were sort of forced out of the forests, and even to the extent that the Finns hid their language. They had a unique Finnish dialect, and they actually hid their language from the ruling sort of population. And it's not surprising then to find that in my family there seems to be like a tradition of guns, knives and sticks. And now, having been to Norway and seen the forest Finns and found out about them, I now realize that it's entirely possible that the gun, stick and knife gene has passed down to several members of my family.